I'm not sure that I can follow lilacs and cinnamon sticks, because I think that's pretty good for a Sunday morning. But I would like to begin with a story, one from Rachel Naomi Remen, who I think I've introduced you to before. And she writes, "Long ago, the little son of my friends and I became quite good friends ourselves. A lot of the time, we played with his two tiny cars, running them from windowsill to windowsill, parking them and racing them, and telling each other all the while what we imagined as we passed on the road. Sometimes I would have the one with the chipped wheel. Sometimes he would have it. It was great fun, and I loved this little boy dearly. At about that time, these little Hot Wheels cars were avidly collected by most 6-year-old boys, and Kenny dreamed of them. And about this time, one of the major gas companies began a Hot Wheels giveaway, a car with every fill-up. I was delighted. Quickly, I persuaded the entire clinic staff to buy this brand of gas for a month, and organized all 20 of us with checklists so that we would not get 2 fire engines or 2 Porsches or Volkswagens. And in a month, we accumulated all the Hot Wheel cars then made. And I gave them to Kenny in a big box. They filled every windowsill in the living room, and then he stopped playing with them. Puzzled, I asked him why he did not like his cars anymore. And he looked away, and in a quivery voice he said, "I don't know how to love this many cars, Rachel." I was stunned. And ever since, I've been careful to be sure not to have more Hot Wheels than I can love. Out of the mouth of babes, right? You know, in our culture, we love a lot of things. English is a little tough on us because there's really only one word in our language as opposed to most others where there's different kinds of love that we can use appropriately. And so most of us have a lot of things that we love. I love golf. I love Notre Dame football. I love pizza and a really good steak. I love an ice-cold beer when I'm grilling. I love the feel of grass on my feet. I love my family and my friends. And I love God. Now, we overuse this word so much it loses its meaning. For how can I love God and love the Notre Dame Fighting Irish? Well, I don't mean it quite like that. I don't mean they don't go together, just so you know. But I'm saying the same sentiment, really, for those two experiences? Because we have come to understand love in a very simplistic, singletary fashion. That love and the way we use it in our culture is all about feeling. It's all about what our heart does towards someone else. It's about sentiment. And in order to love something or someone, we certainly do have to like them first. But this understanding of love that comes from our culture is not at all what John talks about in his letter or what Jesus talks about in the gospel. This is not the kind of love that God means. God's love comes to us unsolicited and undeserving. We didn't even ask for it. And most of us, when we consider and comprehend the depth of God's love for us, if we were going to be honest, we don't really deserve it either. This kind of love is God's very nature. It is like breathing to God. It is just being is love. And so those of us who are God's, who belong to God, The very first thing we have to understand is actually this is our true nature also. That the thing we were born to do in the world is to actually love. No more and no less. This kind of love, the kind of love that comes from God, is not about sentiment. I'm confident there are days when God probably doesn't even like me very much. The kind of love that we talk about here, this kind of love that is God's kind of love, is an action. It is deliberate, and it is a choice. God chooses us whether or not God feels any particular thing, whether we feel like we deserve it. And so when Jesus says, love one another, this kind of love is not about feeling. So when Jesus says to us, love your brothers and sisters, I can love you and not even really like you very much. I can love you and completely disagree with your politics. I can love you even if I don't agree with the way you live your life, or the people you hang out with, or the way you spend your money, the color of your skin, who you love, whether you were born in this country or not. Because God's kind of love, none of those things matter. Not one of them. Because it isn't about how we feel about each other. That is too shallow for the kind of love that God not only offers us, but calls us to. When God says, love one another, and when Jesus says, love one another, what we are being challenged to do is to recognize that this thing that we are to be toward each other, we do it because, first of all, it was done for us. And we do it knowing that it's about, again, not whether I like you or agree with you, but it's about my recognition of your human dignity. Because you were born. Because God saw fit that you would be born, and that is enough. That is the kind of love that God invites us to, because that's the kind of love we have been given. And so this active love of God is about justice and inclusion, grace. It is bigger than us. But it's so darn hard. Why is that? Why is it so hard for me to respect you when you voted for the person that I would have done anything to defeat? When you live your life according to a set of values that I don't agree with? When I've worked hard for everything that I've got and you need help? Why is that so hard? And I don't know if I know the answer, but I certainly have a curiosity about it. And one of the things I wonder is whether it's so darn difficult to love other people because we don't actually believe it's true for us. I mean, how many of us can honestly look ourselves in the eye in the mirror and go, I love you, and believe it? How many of us can look ourselves in the eye in the mirror and acknowledge that we are loved by God in spite of ourselves, in spite of our humanness, in spite of our failings, and we believe it to our core? Because, my friends, if we believed that, then loving each other would not only not be hard, it would come naturally like breathing. It would become our nature like it is God's nature. Because here's the truth. Once we recognize and feel, even if we have to, and admit that we have been loved by God in this way, we can't keep it to ourselves. We don't even want to. When we know that we are loved by this God in this way, in spite of us, what else can we do except extend that same love and grace to everyone else around us? And so when we look at the other, whether they're in this space or out there, and we don't feel it, we don't like them, we don't like what they think, how they live, the question is, can we love them anyway? Can we move towards a world, or at least a community, or at the very least, a one-on-one relationship where their human dignity is as important to me as mine? And I will feed them, I will clothe them, I will empower them, and I will welcome them because I have been fed and clothed and empowered and welcomed. And that's it. If we believe that kind of love, that we are loved in that way, there's no other choice for us to make either. And the truth of the matter is, some of the reasons that we have so many things, too many Hot Wheels, is because we've forgotten and we keep looking for this kind of love to fill the hole inside of us, knowing that it's been there the whole time for us to believe to be true. So how do we get there if we're not there right now? And I honestly haven't met too many people who are, myself included. I think today's gospel gives us a hint. Christ is the vine. And if we're the branches, it can seem like we're just kind of hanging out, right? Hanging on to the vine, waiting for something to happen. But the action of the branch is actually not passive at all. The branch does what it is made to do, to receive life from the vine, to give life to the world, and then do it again. That's our job, is to be open enough to receive the love of God really and to believe it truly and then give it out and then do it again. This is what discipleship is all about. It's really just about love. And like the branches, this is what we were made to do. Maybe someday we'll be able to get over the fear that we have about things and people that are different than us. But we don't even have to do that. We just have to choose to act in spite of our fear. We just have to choose to do the right thing. We just have to choose to honor human dignity first, even when we're afraid to. I wonder, how might my life be different if I really believed? Every day, every moment, that I am loved like that. I wonder how our community would be different if we believed that we are loved like that, and so are you, and you, and you, and you. We look at the world and we say it's broken. We look in our own congregation even sometimes, and in our own families, and we see the division. And the only thing that heals it is a love like this, where how I feel about you is not the point. Because when we are loved like this, and when we believe that we are loved like this, we can do nothing else. Amen.